You're tuned in to Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast, a forum where we discuss and explore society-based topics while advocating and providing information and resources to the community through an unscripted, unfiltered, and authentic approach. Listen on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Music. Watch us on YouTube. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast, your society-based channel. Welcome to another episode of Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast. I'm your host, and my name is Danette Mahabeer-Turner, Mrs. Kentucky Petite USA 2025. I'm super honored to be representing the state of Kentucky in the Petite USA Organization National Pageant this July in Chicago. Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight our sponsors. Our title sponsor for Season 4, Goodwill Opportunity Center. They help individuals remove barriers to self-sufficiency, enabling their clients to overcome challenges and achieve their goals through support that's personalized to their clients' needs. So visit them today at 1601 Broadway Street, Paducah, Kentucky. Our episode sponsor and compact partner this episode is exclusively sponsored by Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership, LLC. FRNP is the U.S. Department of Energy's deactivation and remediation contractor here in the Paducah site. Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership is a community-centric company that invests in its people, support local and small businesses, and is committed to empowering its employees to become the best they can be. You can listen to Voice Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Music. You can watch us on YouTube. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Today's episode, the topic, Women in Leadership. And our special guest today is none other than Sandra Wilson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yes, I mean, you are a busy woman yourself. So we've seen you do so much great stuff here in our community, and so we're just wanting to have this great conversation with you and learn something from you, take away some nuggets from today's episode.
Well,
so thank you for being here. You've worn multiple hats as a city commissioner. You're also the president and CEO of the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce. What first inspired your journey to public service and leadership?
I really feel like I have been training my whole life to be in the two roles that I'm in today. I have been very active when I first started in my career. I worked at the Kentucky Oaks Mall in the community college before I went to Westvaco in Wickliffe as the public affairs. At that time, director, and then moved into the manager's role later. And during that time, I was very involved in the chamber, both in Paducah Chamber and several others in the community. And then also, I worked with a lot of elected officials who had direct, opportunities to work with the paper mill because they were making legislation that would impact manufacturers.
Absolutely.
Related to safety, related to environmental, related to a lot of issues. So I was always working with elected officials, and I just loved both worlds. So when this opportunity came up, I finally decided, hey, I'm putting my name in the hat. It was in 2012 to run for the Paducah City Commission. I had the full support of my employer. I was working at Westvaco and Wickliffe that time. I had flexibility with my schedule, so I thought I'd be able to make it work. But I did find out very quickly that I really wanted to be in Paducah more. So when the job came open in 2013 for the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce, the CEO and president then, I thought that is my dream job. I want that too.
Wow.
And so I have been doing both since then. And I just love it. And as I said, I just felt like I was been preparing my whole career to be in these two different roles.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. That's very eye-opening as well for those who just kind of see you doing these things, but not knowing the history of, you preparing your life for what you're doing right now.
I might not have known it at the time, but when I look back and think about it, I do see that now. Because I really loved being involved in the community with the Westvaco, and then it became New Page, and Meade Westvaco changed names and is back now open. It closed for a while, and I don't know that I knew it, but I did. I was always wanted to better myself, and I always wanted to make sure that we were involved in the community and doing what we should be doing. We were always working with legislators. So just now and looking back, yes, I was. I was preparing myself.
I love that. So what has your experience been like serving multiple terms as Paducah City Commissioner, and how has your leadership evolved over time?
I'm in my 7th term as a Paducah City Commissioner. And I believe at the end of this term, I'll be the longest serving female. And we've had other females serve in these roles, but that would be the longest. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
Moment right there.
Yes. And I feel like I've just gotten more comfortable in my role too. As you serve in something, you see how things work more. And, you always come in, I would say that to anybody, you always come in thinking you're going to make a big difference. And then you find out, well, it's not quite that easy. You do have to be strategic. You do have to work with others. You have to know what needs to be done. You have to always be looking for the next best. I, by nature, am a very competitive person. I grew up on a farm showing dairy cattle, judging dairy cattle, speaking about dairy cattle. So I have just always been very competitive, and I want our community to be the best it can be. So both of these roles really are very much focused on how to make this a better community for our citizens.
Wow, absolutely. What unique strengths do you believe women, you mentioned, historically being the longest serving woman on or city commissioner. And so what strengths do you believe women bring to leadership roles in both government and business?
I really believe that women have a better, I'm not going to say better, but we do manage to balance a lot of different roles in our lives. And now, I'm not saying that men don't do that. They do. But I just think that it's a little bit of a unique attribute for women that we are just used to doing that. We know, you got to get your kids to school or you've got to get to work on time. So you're juggling a lot of roles. And I think that helps you in the business world as well. And as far as for women, I was the first woman to be the president as a volunteer or the chairman of the board for the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce. And several years later, the chairman of Greater Paducah Economic Development. And I really just believe I brought different attributes to it, to that role. And since then, we've had a lot of women to come into the role as the chairman of the board of the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce. We have one now, and we've had the last 2 have been women. So that's been great. And I just believe that all organizations should be looking to have a balanced approach for their leadership roles with men and women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have you ever faced any challenges or biases as a woman in leadership? And if so, how did you overcome them?
That's a really good question. And I could give a really long answer. Yes, I would be not being truthful if I didn't say that. Yes, I think there have been some that I absolutely knew about, some that I probably didn't know about it at the time. I remember being in rooms and saying something, and perhaps I just didn't say it adequate enough or whatever, but then I would say it and no one really said anything. And then a man would say it and everybody would think it was the best idea ever, is how I felt in that room. Also, when I was the first woman to be the chairman of the board of the Paducah Area Chamber, I was young. I was in my late 30s at the time. So, I was stepping into a leadership role as the first woman and being one of the younger ones to ever fill that role. Now, that's not unusual, but back then it was a little bit of an older person that would be in the role. So I think I brought a lot of vibe to it also, because we had not reached the 1,000 level chamber at that point. And boy, I was determined we were going to do that. And so we worked really, really hard. Yes, back to my competitive nature. We worked really hard to go out and recruit new members to the chamber. And I think our chamber has stayed more steady around the 1,000 level. That was in the late 1990s. Wow. So that's been a long time ago. But I felt like we just bring a different attitude. We just look at things maybe a little bit differently.
And it's good to have both perspective. It's an approach. So
absolutely. Yeah. I would say with anything, you need to have a diversity of thoughts and people in the room that look at things differently. I still have that today. I'm chairman of the Carson Center board this year, and I see that. I just finished up a call with our committee on that. And so you have to have different input because we all look at things differently. And, my way is not always the right way. Their way is not always the right way. But when we combine it all together, it makes it such of a better product.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. What advice would you give to women who aspire to step into leadership roles but may feel hesitant or unsure?
I think you have to be ready to take risk in your life and never be afraid to ask for help. My husband traveled when my daughter was in school and was gone quite a bit. My family lived, in Murray. And so I always was having to ask for somebody, hey, could Whitney have a ride home with you this afternoon? Or is there any way you could take her to after school? And then I will just laugh and say, people that know me know I don't really cook very much. And so I may be the one to organize the party and say, hey, let's all get together for dinner so we can visit. But I'm probably going to be the one that's going to bring the bag of potato chips, the 6-pack of Cokes or something. I'm not going to be bringing the casserole or anything. But you can't do it all.
Right.
I mean, I know when we talk about, hey, you doing it all and all of that, you have to ask for help, and it's okay. So if you are willing as a young woman and maybe you have young children, make sure that you have a network and you have that support group that can help you. Maybe they have to pick up your children. I tried to never miss anything with my daughter and with our life and with our family, but sometimes you're probably going to, and it's okay. You just have to give yourself a lot of grace as well.
Thank you. Wow. Yes, we need a whole another topic for that. Because,
about grace,
grace,
yes.
And as you said, like when you're in leadership roles, and you're required to participate in that, and then you're juggling multiple things, but it sets us up for success as well. If we're doing it the right way, because then you know how to use those strengths and juggle different things and multitask. So
it does. Yeah. Every experience that you have is a learning experience for the next experience that you're going to have.
I love that.
And so take it all in. And I would just say always try to take a deep breath. I used to, and I still do this. I'll run in at a meeting on 2 wheels around the curve and come running in. I came in here to this with you today, running in saying, I don't feel prepared. Give yourself that grace and take a deep breath. There's a particular gentleman in this community that I feel like when he walks into a meeting, when he gets up, from the time he gets out of his car until he walks in with so much confidence that he's not rushed, that he's prepared. So that's someone that I always think, wait, take a deep breath and prepare yourself and make sure other people feel that you're prepared and that you're welcoming them. You want everybody to be at the table and you want their opinion. Lead it from that way.
Love that. I love that. How do you use your position to advocate for other women in business and civic engagement?
If there's an opportunity, I always make sure that we're looking at a diverse representation and that, they're being inspired. I have a young daughter or a daughter that has young children. I want to try to help her so that she can move forward, and others. I do feel like young women today probably have no idea what women 30 years ago had to do and what it was like. I was working at a manufacturing facility. We really didn't have the freedom to leave even to go to our children's parties sometimes. And I remember I did not take a vacation day or make a big deal to go to one of my daughter's parties when I think she was in preschool maybe or kindergarten. And at the end of the year, that's what she wrote on her top 10 things that she remembered from the year, the party that I'd had to miss. But you know what? I just kind of had to laugh about it because I just thought, well, I didn't know that would have been that important to her, and it probably wasn't, but she remembered it. So I just had to think, well, maybe the next time, maybe she does remember the parties that I do attend, because I had limited vacation, had limited time away. So it was very hard to just get there. Today, I think that's understood in the business world that if you can, your employees they're going to need to attend. They're going to want to be involved in their children's lives. They're going to want to go to those parties. They're going to need to do these things that happen during the workday. And it's just so much more accepted. And I don't think that people have seen that change through the years.
Yes, the involvement to that.
But those of us that have been in the business world for a while, I remember that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm so glad that we have evolved from that.
Oh, yes. Love that. Love that. All right, so I'm going to ask you this question. You've been a city commissioner for multiple terms. So, what initiatives or changes are you most proud of championing during your term?
Wow, there's a lot.
I'm sure, yes.
I feel like our city is doing really well. And I really wanted to see us grow. And I'm still focused on that.
Oh,
I've
yes.
said the other day, okay, in 2020, when the census came out, we had grown. The city population had grown 8%. We're at 2025. We're going to be doing another census in 2030. What are we going to do to make sure that we're recruiting people that will want to live in the city, that are, and the county as well? It's very important that the city and county work together, but we want our population to grow. It's the best way to be able to provide more services to our citizens, to be able to provide more amenities that people want, is if we are looked at as a growing city and community. And so for me in 2020, when the population had increased, I was like, yes, that's great. The riverfront development, the build grant that's under construction now, that was something I worked very closely with because it did involve going to our federal officials and making sure that they knew and that we were really making a good case about why that money should be spent in Paducah. So that's been evolving since 2019 when we announced that we had been awarded a build grant. Then, as we all know, what happened in 2020, so everything changed. And then it became so much more expensive. So I'm really proud of our community that we made the commitment for that. And it will be something very nice that our citizens will really be able to enjoy. And it will be a beautiful riverfront. So that's one in particular.
Oh, yes. You should be proud of that.
I am. I think our downtown is so unique when people come here. I mean, I'm a foodie, so I love all our local restaurants that are, locally owned. How awesome is that?
Yes.
We do have a lot of chain restaurants too, and I eat at those as well.
Right,
but, when you see all the locally owned restaurants, and of course Sarah Bradley with what she has done with Freight House to put us on the map internationally.
Oh, absolutely.
When you go in there, you see people that are coming from across the world. And, I think that's benefited our community. It's not only benefited her, but the other restaurants as well. Because when people come here, they probably go to some other restaurants as well.
Absolutely. So what legacy do you hope to leave behind for the next generation of women leaders?
Wow. I just hope that women see that they have such great opportunities and they're not scared to take risks. I think that's something that I have talked about recently. Did I take enough risk? During my career when I was first starting, you can get comfortable. You can be, thinking you're too busy. Just be willing to take risks. Look out there. Step out there. Are there other roles that you should be doing to build up our community? We have a great community because we have so many people that are very committed to being a volunteer. And we have some wonderful nonprofits. The Goodwill Opportunity Center provides such resources to our citizens. So we have a lot to be proud of, but we have worked really hard to get to where we are. And it's going to take the next generation being very committed to keep us going.
Wow, this has been truly an inspirational episode to have you on here. You're doing so many great work. And so, when I thought about this topic, I'm like, you are ideal for this. Women in leadership. We have so much to offer. And I'm so grateful for what you're doing in our community. And thank you for taking the time to be on this show.
But thank you for what you're doing. Yes, thank you for what you're doing. I think you are very much of an inspiration to women in our community.
Well, I appreciate that. And before you go, what's one piece of wisdom you would like to pass on to young women watching or listening today who want to make a difference in their communities?
I think I would just go back with that. Don't let something hold you back. If you need more support, find it. Find a mentor, find a good friend. Sometimes you're going to type it out and delete it, and that's okay. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice I could give you too when you're really upset and you want to fire off that email to someone. Write it out and then just sit on it and delete it, because people are pulling for each other in our community. I think we all want our women to succeed. We want our men to succeed. We want our community to succeed. So just be willing to ask for support when you need it, find a good mentor, and go out there and do it. Just do great.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here on the show again. I know you got a busy schedule, so we won't hold you too long. But before we go, we want to take the time out again to highlight our sponsors. Of course, our season 4 title sponsor is Goodwill Opportunity Center. They help individuals remove barriers to self sufficiency, enabling their clients to overcome challenges and achieve their goals through support that is personalized to their clients' needs. Visit them at 1601 Broadway Street, Paducah, Kentucky. And our exclusive sponsor for this particular episode sponsor and compact partner, Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership, LLC. FRNP is the U.S. Department of Energy's deactivation and remediation contractor at the Paducah site. They are committed to supporting local businesses and small businesses and empowering their employees to become the best that they can be. Of course, you can watch Voice Thoughts Talk Show and podcast on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Music. Be sure to join our Facebook group, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I have been your host. My name is Danette Mahabeer-Turner, Mrs. Kentucky Petite USA 2025. I'll see you on the next episode. God bless.